Lockers are truly some fantastic tools to get vehicles like this to some truly incredible remote spots. But when used improperly, lockers can also cause a lot of damage to vehicle components like joints or axle shafts or even a differential. And a day out on the trail with a failure like that is not a good one. So, how do you test your lockers to make sure they're in good working order with the lowest risk of actually damaging anything? Well, I'm going to show you right now. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do is find somewhere with some very loose terrain, like this gravel or dirt, or something that will allow the wheel to slip, as that's what we want for this test. If we have a surface that will grip too much, then that poses a serious risk for binding and possibly breaking something, especially on a vehicle like this that's 20 years old. Another thing that you're going to want in a testing location is somewhere that is wide open and relatively flat, as really we want to focus on what's going on with the vehicle. You are more than welcome to go test out on trails with large obstacles and whatnot, but to truly get a feel for what is going on at each wheel, you want a wide open space with as few distractions as possible. Another reason why you're going to want a lot of space is a lot of the vehicles on sale today that come with factory equipped diff lockers will require you to meet some sort of criteria or condition in order for those lockers to be able to lock. For example, like 4 low, a certain off-road mode, some even in 4 high with other certain criteria met, and you're going to want to make sure that you have the space and the ability to do that rather than trying to mess with that on trail only to have it not work and back up traffic. We have our testing location, so let's go ahead and engage those lockers. Now this is a TJ Rubicon, and in order for me to engage the factory lockers using the switch here, I need to be in 4 low. Currently I'm in 2 high, so when I hit the switch, nothing happens. So, 4 low, I hit the switch down once, that light comes on, my rear locker is trying to engage. When I hit it down again, my front locker tries to engage. And as you can see here, my front is engaged and my rear is attempting to engage. Best way to get that to engage is to go into first gear, just let off the clutch, do a little bit of steering back and forth just to break the speed between left and right, and sure enough, both are locked. So now with both diffs locked, those lights are staying solid, I can go ahead and put it into gear. Only going into first gear, and I'm still in 4 low, so this should move pretty slowly, which will give me the opportunity to pay attention to what each wheel is doing and watch for any binding or anything like that and be able to catch it in time before something catastrophic. So with that, just a little bit off the clutch, no feet on the pedals here, crawling at a very slow 2 to 3 miles an hour. And when going straight, you really shouldn't feel or hear anything different. Really, that's when you turn. Now I'm going near full lock, and you'll start to hear the inside wheels of your turn will slip. And steering will feel tougher to actually move. Now when we go the other way, now we're on the outside, that front wheel wants to slip and push out. It's trying to move forward, but since the wheels are turning, it grabs and starts to go that way. But with it being locked and with the rear pushing forward on both sides, not wanting it to turn, you'll see and hear and feel a lot more slippage. While Grant is driving around making himself look like a fool, here in my garage, I don't have any books, really don't have that much knowledge in here either. But what do I have? That's right, you guessed it, a very cool shark beach towel. But that isn't the only thing with teeth that I wanted to talk about here. Really, I wanted to talk about differentials, and more specifically, locking differentials, and even more specifically, selectable locking differentials. I have taken apart my entire front axle, spilling gear oil everywhere, making this place smell awful, having parts just thrown about, solely so I could show this to you. Well, that's not quite true. I've been doing some maintenance on my axle here, and I figured this would be a good time to give a good visual to go along with the demonstration that Grant is doing. This is the front differential on my 2004 Jeep Wrangler Rubicon, and it came from the factory with front and rear locking differentials. Now, these particular lockers on this Jeep are air lockers. What that means is there are two air pumps mounted on the center skid plate near the transfer case that supply 5 psi to each differential. When that happens, this line right here coming into the differential becomes pressurized from the pump back there. This line then feeds this air fitting on a collar that is right on the outside of this differential. When that air bladder is inflated, it forces a collar on the inside to mesh the gearing, which forces both outputs of the differential to spin at the same speed, regardless of how the vehicle is turning. When that system is depressurized, the bladder deflates, allowing that collar to come out, and allows this to serve as an open differential, which it is when it is not locked. Another popular selectable locking differential is the electronic locking differential. Now, the electronic locking differential works in a similar concept to the air locker here, but goes about it a different way. You see, electronic lockers have electromagnets in them, and when they are activated via a switch up in the cab, when they charge, that is when they either attract or repel that same collar, depending on the orientation here, to then force those gears together. It is using that magnetism to force the outputs to turn at the same speed, while this is an air bladder that is pushing. Now, those are the two most common types of selectable lockers that you will see, but there is also the cable-actuated locker. And how that works is, once again, a very similar concept, but just goes about it a different way. See, usually with a cable locker, there is a lever mounted in the cab somewhere that is attached to a steel cable that then is attached to a similar collar or device of some sort. When that lever is pushed and pulled, that cable is pushed and pulled, and that action actually moves said collar to lock and unlock that differential. So that's just a quick rundown on selectable lockers. Now, why don't we get back to Grant and whatever he's doing. And so in this Jeep, when I want to disengage the lockers, I push up, that light goes off, and my lockers went off because they reached the conditions. But if not, sometimes they'll sit there and flash as they try to disengage. So you're still in 4 low, but we are not locked. Now, watch the difference when I go to turn. We don't have near as much noise. We have a little bit, and that's just because of the dedicated 50-50 split front and rear, but nowhere near as much going on as when we were locked. And the same goes when we turn the other direction here. There's not as much pushing outward. There still is a little bit of slipping just because of the terrain we're on, but it's not behaving quite the same as before. Now that I know that my lockers are in good working order, I can have the confidence when I go hit the trails that if I need them, I just hit that switch and they're there, which really just makes the overall trail experience a lot more enjoyable when you don't have to worry about stuff like that. Well, I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you learned something, and if there's anything else you want to see on this channel, let me know. With that though, I'll see you on the next one, and remember, wheel responsibly and have a great day.